Good morning and welcome to Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. Well, today is Prayer with Fridays. This is my favorite day. Outside of it being Friday, it's at the end of the week. I know Dr. C likes to say Friday. And it's just my favorite time because we definitely get to pray for cover going into the weekend, but just praying about all the things that we are grateful for during the week. So this is my favorite time. And hopefully I will have a guest on this morning because I know I'm up early in the morning. Some people, they're getting ready for work. They're going out and they're doing their thing, but they may not necessarily be, awake, and they're still trying to get some rest to go forward with their day. So thank you for everybody joining me here. Now, it has been a wild week, you guys. I don't know. I've been watching some of the Senate hearings and catching some of the things going on in DC, and it is wild. So I wanted to share a video of an exchange between Representative Tlaib and Representative Donalds on the House floor in the committees. Like it's really interesting to me because I mean, personally, I would think they would have more decorum, right? Let's just be professional. We could not do this in an office. That's my thing. In an office, we have to be very respectful, right? Because there's all these laws and regulations. You can't yell at people. You can't do certain things. But the members of Congress, they are wild people. I mean, just sometimes I'm like, really? Get it together. What are you guys doing? Seriously, what are you doing? It's really crazy. So Black Empowered, thank you so much for joining us, reposting the stream. And Jay Smooth says, good morning, beautiful Black Americans. Oh, thank you so much, Jay Smooth. We really appreciate you being here and joining us from YouTube. Thank you so much. And for those that are joining us from YouTube, please remember to like, share, and subscribe. And for those on X, please definitely remember to repost the stream. If you are on Facebook, definitely share the links to this live stream. So let's get into this exchange between Rashida Tlaib and Byron Donalds.
For years, D.C. has let crime run wild. And this culture of crime trickling down to teens is now everywhere. When there's no consequences for actions, there's no incentive to, I guess, follow the law. Well, that's now coming to an end. The House has passed two bills aimed at cracking down on crime in Washington, D.C. to begin with. The first, introduced by Congressman Byron Donalds, would limit the city's ability to enact changes to criminal sentencing laws and lowers the age for youth offenders. So if you're a teenager, maybe you'll pay the price for your crime. The second bill lowers the age of juveniles to be tried as adults for certain violent offenses to 14 years of age. Believe it or not, this is needed. But Democrats say crime bills don't work.
Those aren't bills that are serious efforts to address public safety in the Washington, D.C. area.
Okay. Does he ever have ideas or just dismisses all Republican ideas? Here to discuss this is Florida Congressman. He's running for governor in Florida, Byron Donalds. Congressman, why is it so important to end leniency when it comes to teens? What are you finding in your stats?
Well, what we know is that it is actually teenage crime, youth crime in D.C. that's leading to these issues. The bill that I sponsored that we passed in the House would make juvenile sentencing available to people under the age of 18. In D.C., prior to my bill, it's under the age of 25. So what you have people between the ages of 18 and 25, they're carjacking, robbery, etc., assault, and they're getting these juvenile sentences. That is outside of the mainstream of what happens in every other jurisdiction in the United States. So all we did was make D.C. live the way the rest of the country lives. Very, very simple, common sense policy.
Look, you don't want to give up on a 13-year-old that might decide to hang out with the wrong group or have terrible parents. But maybe there should be more rehab there or more therapy there than maybe a 28-year-old who's been arrested 14 times. But that can be addressed. But meantime, you got to keep people safe in the streets. I was struck by these numbers in New York, who was saying that a lot of crime numbers, if you are to believe them, are going down. But when it comes to youth, they are not. For example, through the 5 boroughs, there was 5,623 felony youth arrests in fiscal year 2025. That's up from 2,200 in 2018. So when they raised the age, the crime went up for the teens. So that should be enough. When you see stats, you got to react. In sports, you do that all the time. What's so difficult when it comes to crime?
Well, what's difficult is that the radical left does not care about law and order. They care about these crazy soft on crime policies. They think it's compassionate, but it's not. What it does, it leaves people less safe. The real compassion is, yes, you hold people accountable and you're firm in that. And a funny thing happens, people respond to incentives. Happens everywhere else in life, happens when it comes to criminal justice as well. But if you listen to the Democrats here on Capitol Hill and some of their activists, they would say to you that you're somehow undermining D.C. But what Donald Trump did, surging assets into the nation's capital, it has brought crime down significantly. We're responding in kind by changing the policies so that you have a safer Washington for everybody.
I got to let everybody at home who works 9 to 5 see what happened during the day. You had a huge clash with Congresswoman Tlaib, who's usually so calm and very measured. I'm being sarcastic. Watch this.
And I think it's really important. We need to stand up against this fascist takeover. That's not a bad word. It's a fact.
Do I look like a member of the Third Reich to you, Ms. Tlaib?
Please,
is that what I look like to you?
You're the one taking your voting
Is that what you think? Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
No, that's unethical.
I think it's radical and I think it's insane. To say something like that to myself and a lot of my colleagues is way out of line. It's way out of line.
Your thoughts?
I thought she was insane, to be perfectly honest with you. And look, especially with what we know about this shooter that assassinated Charlie Kirk, the left has been using this vitriol against Republicans, against MAGA, because they have no policies that actually work. Their policies are quite stupid. They don't work. They don't hurt people. And because they don't have an argument, they resort.
It's interesting how he says their policies don't work. They don't hurt people. I think what he was trying to say there is that, that not being soft on crime is hurtful. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying, because when he said, I was like, wait, hold on. They don't hurt people. And I'm like, okay, actually having laws that address criminal behavior, it's not hurtful to people. It actually helps society be better, right? Because if somebody is actually punished for their crime and they're properly rehabilitated and reintegrated back into society, the hope and the goal is to ensure that they continue, right? That they continue on a path to not go back and revert to criminal behavior and become a career criminal. That's what we don't want. We want people rehabilitated, reinserted back into society when they do, right, commit a crime. So it was just interesting when he did it. I was just like, wait a minute. I was like, oh yeah. let me flush that out.
To calling us fascists and all this other nonsense. And so I was sick of it. I had enough of it. A lot of my colleagues are sick of it. You disagree? Fine. Come up with a better policy. They cannot. And that is 100% factual. You know, this is what they resort to, and I'm not going to tolerate it.
And Bill Maher is one, stop with the Hitler, stop with the fascists, and stop with the Nazis. Senator Fetterman, same thing. Maybe they could listen to 2 Democrats if they won't listen to Byron Donalds, who wants to be the next governor of Florida. Thanks so much, Congressman. Appreciate it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here.
Yeah. It's weird. And Uncle Cool Water, thank you for reposting the stream. And Dr. C, happy Friday, founder. Happy Friday to you too as well. You know, I really appreciate what Byron Donalds, and I don't want to say puts up with, but he does have to put up with a lot. You know, he's not a Black American, he is Jamaican. But he puts up with a lot. Being a Republican in this era. But maybe it was always like that, right? Because the Democrats, you know, if you go back to some of the footage, I would say from like maybe the 50s, 60s, when they started, you know, recording certain congressional hearings, they used the N-word hard R, in Congress, in chambers. So we do have actual transcripts of this. So they can't lie to us. We got transcripts, got congressional transcripts at that. And, not only that, as much as the Democrats try to say, oh, kumbaya, they are a very hateful group and they don't want to get anything done. To Byron Donald's point, where's your legislation? They keep acting like they're completely helpless. I'm like, you're in Congress, House or Senate, but you keep sitting back going, there's nothing we can do. Really? Then why are you there? If you're such this helpless person, then obviously you don't know your job and you shouldn't be there. And people should not reelect you. Period. Period. Everybody needs to be voted out of office. I haven't played this clip. I don't have it. I just came by it. But it was Jasmine Crockett. Sorry, y'all. It just was. And she was saying, just because you've committed a crime, that doesn't make you a criminal. I was like, huh? She said it. She said it. And Righteous Anger says, grand rising to you too. And I was like, wait a minute. Criminal is the descriptive of somebody who commits a crime. Yes, if you steal a stick of gum, you're a criminal because you stole the gum. You committed a crime that will put you in the classification of a criminal. You may not be a career criminal. Now, that's what she should have said, but she didn't, because they keep trying to justify criminal behavior. Y'all, this is wild to me. It's impressive. I don't know what else to say. It's impressive. It is impressive to me how you are trying to justify criminal activity and behavior as if, oh my goodness, we need to feel sorry for these people. Oh my gosh, they can't help themselves. Really? Seriously? And why is it always people that look like us? And when I say us, I'm talking about, they look like Black Americans. They may not be at all. I'm checking everybody's lineage. I want to see your lineage card. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, they want to say, why are you always associating us with crime? But then you want to turn around and say, if you commit a crime, that doesn't make you a criminal. What? Listen to yourselves. All of you. It's disgusting. It is truly a disgrace. Like, I want the Democratic Party to stop it. Or you know what? Better yet, this is even better. Just admit it. Just be honest with all of us that you are okay with crime. You are okay with people having their rights suppressed. You are okay with people and their lives being completely destroyed, so that you can be there and rush in and be the hero and build everything up. Like, this is like the worst view of being a codependent. And it's not the Democrats that are the codependents, it's us. Because we are enabling them to do this, right? And we keep giving them chances, hoping that they will change. And they're not. They have shown us who they are. It's time to shut this down. It's time to shut it down. As a party, if you cannot stop it, stop calling people names, and this is both sides, the Republicans and the Democrats, both of you need to stop it, because you're not helping. But Democrats, you're far worse, because you're trying to convince us to accept crime. You are trying to convince us to accept things that aren't real. Okay? Because just a few years ago, maybe a year or two ago, it was like, oh no, this person, they claim to be one biological sex, but they are another. And if you misgender them, you're wrong. You're in the wrong. in the state of Colorado, do you realize that they have made that a crime to misgender somebody? When Stop it. Stop. And these are Democrats. Yeah, we're not going to live in crazy town with you anymore. And we're going to hold your feet to the fire at every point in turn. You're destroying your own party because you love criminal activity. You love evil. You love it. And I'm not talking about every single Democrat in the Democratic Party, but your leadership loves criminal activity. They don't know how to get away from it. Because if the president of the United States wants to shut down crime, then they've got to be about crime because they can't agree on anything. They really don't know how to work with people. There was a time in our country where maybe was there ever a time in our country? I don't know, because even back in the 1400s, yeah, they were still having issues. Hmm. Yeah, they were still having issues in the 1600s. They look post-Reconstruction issues. What is wrong with both parties? Like, this is super dysfunctional. And I know that we will never have a perfect country. I'm not saying that, but the dysfunction in this country is at a fever pitch because you really have people believing things that aren't true. And that's the biggest problem that I have. And so, I went to Grok because I had some questions. I was just like, help me, because this is weird. I said, are the Democrats and Republicans trying to alter free speech? Because you hear them both fighting. They're trying to take away your free speech and they're trying to limit what you can say. Really? Both of you guys are doing this. We see you. Is this the play? Because you couldn't get it done under the past two administrations? Is this what we're doing now? Is this what we're doing now? That's all I'm saying. Because I see it and I don't like it. Stop trying to make me champion or support something that's going to harm me long term. Stop making me desire or, scream out for something worse than the problem that it's going to solve. That's where both parties are at, you guys. So, Grok says both Democrats and Republicans have taken actions that can be seen as influencing free speech, though their approaches and motives differ. So they're both doing this. So for Democrats, they've pushed for measures that combat misinformation and hate speech. You've heard those terms, right? Often advocating for content moderation on social media platforms. Some argue this protects public discourse by curbing harmful content, while critics see it as censorship that risks stifling dissent. For example, there have been calls from some Democrats for stricter regulation of online platforms, which could limit what can be said under the guise of preventing harm. They always try to go back to this. Well, this is hateful. This is harmful. Really? And what y'all are doing, is it? Really? To the people that love crime? Okay. And Tatas, thank you for joining this morning and reposting the stream. So Republicans, on the other hand, have focused on countering perceived biases in tech companies, claiming these platforms suppress conservative voices. They've proposed laws to limit the ability of private companies to moderate content, arguing this protects free speech. Critics view this as government overreach that could force platforms to host harmful or misleading content. Yeah. So both sides claim to defend free speech while accusing the other of undermining it. The reality depends on how you define free speech and whether you see private companies or government as the bigger threat. Legal battles like those over Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act and public debates on X reflect this ongoing tension with no clear resolution because no one wants to be a free speech absolutist. And what I mean by that is what we've seen since the passing of Charlie Kirk. Okay. You've got people expressing themselves, right? Like it or not, yeah, they may come off demonic. It's their right to say, I'm happy that this person is gone. That's their right. You may not have to like it, right? It might hurt your feelings. It's their right to say it. Now, if they are inciting violence, right, and saying, hey, this happened and it should happen to other people like this, or hey, continue, I like what I see, let's go after these people. That's incitement of violence, and that needs to be dealt with. But that's it. Those are the only two lanes you have. Again, as much as you don't want to hear something and you don't like it, there's a real opportunity for you to do something about that. You know what it's called? Put down your phone. Turn off your TV. Walk away. Okay? And a lot of people say, well, that's not going to fix it. Guess what? If you cannot handle people saying things that are hurtful to you, then don't be a part of the conversation. Period. Because people are going to say things that hurt your feelings. People are going to say things very hateful and spiteful. But it's when they incite violence that they take it a step too far. There's no such thing as hate speech, period. And the word hate, again, means to love less. So if I insert the word love less every time you say hate speech, and I say, oh, you mean love less speech? Huh? Yeah, that means that person is loving you less with their speech. Because that's the definition of the word hate. What are we doing? What are we really doing? What are you really trying to get to? What is your end goal here? And the end goal here is to shred the Constitution. Stop it. We have an inalienable right to free speech. I have God-given rights. My rights do not come from government. They come from God. Stop it. That's where you all lose the argument with me. Okay. So I said free speech according to the Constitution. So of course I went to the First Amendment, and it says Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Okay? This is a check for the government. But all the while, all the government keeps doing is they keep pitting back with one another, trying to figure out how to take away our rights. We've already shredded the Fourth Amendment with the Patriot Act. Section 230 really teeters on curbing free speech. So what are we doing? I'm not going to get into it. Into all of it. But I will get into this one section. It says current debates and party actions. Democrats, some push for laws or pressure on platforms to curb misinformation, hate speech, or election-related content. Critics argue this could lead to laws that indirectly chill speech, though no major federal law has yet been passed that directly violates the First Amendment. So Republicans, some advocate for laws to prevent platforms from moderating content, arguing it protects. Okay, they are advocate for laws to prevent platforms from moderating content, arguing it protects free speech. Okay, that doesn't sound right. But however, forcing private companies to host speech could itself raise First Amendment issues, as companies have their own speech rights. Okay, yeah, because a company, even though it's not a human person, it can't vote. It can create bills, it can pay bills, like a person, but it can't vote. And it actually, they have certain rights when it comes to speaking freely, but in a free market, they have the backlash of that as well, right? If they say something that people don't like, people don't buy their products, their company could go out of business. Just saying. It can happen. Anybody heard from Tommy Hilfiger lately? Bueller? Just saying. So, the Supreme Court has historically leaned toward protecting speech when even when offensive. Cohen versus California, 1971. Recent cases like Murthy versus Missouri in 2024 show the court grappling with whether government pressure on private platforms to remove content violates First Amendment. No definitive ruling has found either party's actions to be unconstitutional, but the issue remains contentious. Yeah. So, when it comes to posting certain things, would I want to see somebody um, post people being hung from trees? No, I would not want to see that. Absolutely not. Should anybody post anything like that? Well, you would have to give it proper context, right? Are you posting it to show what happened in the past of lynchings, for example? If that's what you're explaining, you would have to give it context. But if somebody else was putting it out saying, hey, this might happen to other people that look like this hanging from those trees, that's insightful. So I'm just trying to walk you guys through this. But those are the differences between two different posts. Now, the one inciting violence actually should be investigated because you are inciting violence against a specific group of people or people, period, right? That's what you're doing. If you say we need to do this with this particular post, but the other post that says, hey, this is something that happened, even after we had Reconstruction and Jim Crow laws, this was very hateful behavior. We shouldn't return to this. That's the context. But sometimes we will look at pictures and not have context. I'm just, giving it that wraparound. And King Copper Tremaine says, Grand Rising family, Grand Rising to you too. And thank you so much for joining us and reposting the stream on X. So are Democrats and Republicans altering free speech? That was my big question. So neither party has successfully passed legislation that directly alters the First Amendment protections. However, Democrats' efforts to regulate misinformation or hate speech could, if poorly crafted, risk overreach that courts might strike down as unconstitutional. Republicans' attempts to force platforms to host content could infringe on private companies' First Amendment rights to moderate their platforms. So both sides' actions are debated on X and in courts with no clear evidence of constitutional changes yet. The First Amendment remains robust, but its application in the digital age, especially regarding private platforms, continues to spark legal and public controversy. And I said, what about Section 230? So let's read about Section 230. It is a key law that intersects with free speech debates. Though it's not part of the Constitution, it provides legal protection for online platforms, shaping how free speech plays out in the digital age. Here's how it relates to your question about Democrats and Republicans potentially altering free speech. Now, this act was put into place in 1996. I don't remember. Well, I guess maybe there was for people who had computers. I guess you had AOL, you know, and you had chat rooms. So, okay, around the, mid to late 90s. Okay. but you didn't have the conversations that you're having now, or the types of platforms that we have now, like X, and the way I should say the way we interact now was in its infancy in 1996. So a lot of people will always say, "Oh, we need a constitutional we need a constitution for the internet. We need something. We need something." We kind of have something with Section 230. People just don't like it. I'm just being honest. We have something. You just don't like it. That's what it is. So Section 230 states that online platforms, e- uh, X or YouTube, are not legally liable for content posted by users, right? Treating them as neutral platforms rather than publishers. It has two main provisions: immunity from liability. No provider or user of an interactive computer service shall be treated as the publisher or speaker of any information provided by another information content provider. This means platforms aren't sued for user generated content, defamatory posts. Yeah. And it's weird because, people don't understand that part. It's like, yeah, you can get kind of wild, but um Elon's not going to be responsible for how wild you get. Now, if somebody else wants to go after you for what you said on the platform, then that's a whole separate issue, because you put it out there, right? Or that other person has put it out there. Now it's just evidence. You can try to delete it if you want to. We can just go on the Wayback Machine and find you. So it is what it is. Be careful with what you say. And that's always, right? We have free speech, but you cannot incite violence. It's two different things. Or if you want to be defamatory, right? I mean, if you want to be defamatory, you can, but you're going to have to pay a price for it. I'm just saying, be careful. So good faith moderation. Platforms can moderate content, remove obscene or harmful material in good faith without losing immunity. Okay. Right? Now, we've seen how people were moderating, quote unquote, in good faith. And a lot of people were shut down for their views, right? Their views. I remember that happening. People were crashing out. And I know most of us were sitting there going, what's wrong with you? And then, I got my content. My whole, I had an X account for a couple months, and I was interacting with people and saying a couple, different things. Nothing really explicit. And I might have did like maybe 1 or 2 posts a day, maybe 8 posts a week. They shut me down for harassment. I was like, who am I harassing? I'm not on here enough to harass anybody. What? But it's when Elon bought the company that happened. A lot of people lost their accounts. It's crazy. So Chief B Joinsy, thank you for joining us this morning. She says hundreds. And Michonne, thank you for joining us, and good morning to you too. Yeah, so I mean, it's insane. So the relevance to free speech, Section 230 doesn't directly alter the First Amendment, which governs government restrictions on speech. Instead, it enables private platforms to moderate content without legal repercussions, effectively shaping what speech is amplified or suppressed online. This has led to accusations from both parties that the other is undermining free speech. In my opinion, I just think they're working together. Honestly, there's sometimes I'm like, yeah, y'all aren't working together on this, but other times I'm like, y'all are just in concert, because it's constant. And it all comes back to, we need to moderate. We need to ensure what? Unless somebody is calling for incitement of violence, free speech should never be a conversation. Somebody is allowed to act as ignorant as they want. Under free speech, you are allowed to be as unintelligent as you want to be with free speech, or as intelligent as you want to be. Okay? But when you start inciting violence, that's a problem. But both parties, I don't think they've really figured that out. I think this situation with Charlie Kirk, it's shown us who people are. I mean, on both sides, I'm like, y'all are wild. You are really wild to cheer for someone's passing. First of all, I'm like, whoa, okay. But that's how you feel. I don't agree with it, but that's how you feel. But it's the response of individuals that did support Charlie Kirk. It's their response to those individuals that I'm like, wait a minute. Some of you are Christians? What is wrong with you? Like, what's really wrong with you? Because you are really not setting a good example right now. And I get it. We're human. We do things. We say things. You know. But at the same time, I'm like, be measured. Take a step back, because if you're that angry and you're that emotional, you need to stop. You need to pray. First of all, if you are a Christian, and you just say, okay, where is this coming from? Because hatred to hatred doesn't get the problem solved. It just doesn't. It really doesn't. You know, I still have yet to see the tampering down conversation. Haven't seen it. And Michonne says it exposes their inner state. Oh, yeah. And the temperature of the country and the world. Yeah. It's hot. It's hot outside, y'all. And Black Empower says both sides want to limit free speech for political reasons because it damages their attempts at creating and sustaining a narrative. Exactly. They want to be able to control that narrative because it serves them, right? Yeah. And Michonne says frustration. They are completely frustrated because they need us to crash out and burn it down so they can just build it up into this wonderful utopia. We are not doing that. All right. I'm telling you now. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's running outside. We're not crashing out. Stop trying to push this race war, which they're really pushing. They are really pushing that. Stop it. Stop it. We see the play now. We see the play. Both sides. I see what you're doing. Stop that. Nobody's going to that. At least I'm not going. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not doing it. So, current efforts to alter Section 230. Neither party has successfully amended Section 230 in a way that directly impacts First Amendment protections, but both have proposed changes. Yeah, there's that part. So Democrat proposals like the Safe Tech Act in 2021 reintroduced in various forms aim to limit immunity from platforms hosting harmful content. Well, what's harmful content? That is extremely broad. You could say you posted a video of somebody tripping and falling down. That's harmful content. They just fell down. They may not have even hurt themselves, but that's harmful content. What? And I know that sounds silly for me to say that, but that's how this could go. That's the route. Those are the things you got to think through. So these haven't passed, and courts would likely scrutinize any law that risks chilling protected speech. Republican proposals, laws like Texas's HB 20 that was proposed in 2021 and Florida's SB 7072 in 2021 sought to limit content moderation by platforms claiming to protect free speech. Both face legal challenges. The Supreme Court in Moody versus Net Choice in 2024 sent these cases back to lower courts, questioning whether such laws infringe on platforms' First Amendment rights. It's weird, this whole content moderation thing. It's like, I don't like it. I don't like somebody coming behind saying, well, we don't know if what you said was true and this and the other. This is why you guys see when I do a lot of my posts, I will post it with either links or screenshots of where I got my information from if it's that type of um post, right? Because I want you to know this is where I got my information. It's like I have to substantiate what I'm saying so no one can come back to me and say, hey, we don't think you're telling the truth. Uh-huh. It's weird. So bipartisan push. Some bipartisan efforts like the Platform Accountability and Transparency Act propose increased transparency and moderation decisions without directly revoking immunity. They need to leave it alone. Again, incitement's incitement. Impact on constitutional free speech. Section 230 itself doesn't alter the Constitution's free speech protections, which apply to government, not private entities. However, Democrat-led reforms could lead to government pressure on platforms to remove content potentially crossing into First Amendment violations if deemed corrosive. Uh, See Murthy versus Missouri, and Republican-led reforms could force platforms to host speech clashing with platforms' First Amendment rights to moderate content. Yeah. So as of September 18, 2025, Section 230 remains intact, though debates rage on X and in Congress. No major federal reform has passed. The Supreme Court has not ruled Section 230 unconstitutional. Any change to Section 230 would likely face legal challenges to ensure it aligns with First Amendment principles. The tensions lie in balancing platform autonomy, user speech, and government oversight without infringing on constitutional protections. Well, I mean, yeah, well said. But at the same time, when Elon bought X a couple of years ago, the FBI admitted that they are always on all of these platforms monitoring all of us. Yeah. But that comes from the Patriot Act. So it's really weird to me and interesting. Y'all are already messing with us. But you sit here and cry and whine as if you're not doing anything. It's really weird to me. And Michonne says also the LGBT knows we don't support their acts, period. We don't. We don't. And and it's weird, right? Like this June, I did not look forward to June. I like June. I like Juneteenth. I'm learning. I don't even go outside during June because that was the month that individuals were celebrating just being naked and lewd outside, saying this is our freedom of speech. No, you're being lewd and lascivious in front of children. It's disgusting. It's depraved behavior. What are you doing? Now, if you want to do that in a closed environment with people who are like-minded and doing that, that's fine. But when you bring it to the streets out in the public arena and you expect us to go along with your cult, because that's what it is, nobody's doing that. That's not free speech. That's cult behavior. And it's lewd behavior. It is not free speech. No. Now, a lot of people, you might want to have an argument with me. No, I don't like it. I don't like when people walk down the street half naked, booties hanging out either. Stop that. Have some dignity and honor about yourself. Like that, we need to really get back to just, shaming folks. Sorry. You need a check. If you are outside and everybody knows what people look like, and some people, there are just certain things that you shouldn't wear. Okay. If it's not covering up the essentials properly, stop that. Now, if you're at the beach and you got your bathing suit on, I'm not going to mess with you. But when you're walking down the street and there's other people in public, what is wrong with you? You're outside. If you want to wear that stuff in your house, hey, have at it. When you're outside, be respectful. That's all we're saying. It's really crazy. And Michelle says, "I can't stand the ratchet." Yeah, yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, so let's take a quick break. When we come back, I've got one more video for you guys. You'll find this one a little bit interesting. So thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News. Oh, and let me before we go, let's see. Um, it's degeneracy. They know it and don't care. They don't, because that mindset has been applauded, right? It's been cultivated, it's been accepted, and people embrace it. And they're saying, this is great. No, it's not. It never was. But that, it wants you to, this is what evil does. And this is just me, this is my take. It gets you, it's like, sin with every other sin, right? Draws you in and it gets you to have to accept it. And then you're a part of it. Right. And there are just some things we need to start rejecting. So let's take a quick break and I will see you guys on the other side.
This is a 1/10 ounce gold coin, and this is 1/10 of an ounce of gold in the form of gold-backed notes. Now, clearly, there are some pretty significant differences between these two forms of bullion, but I like to stack both. The coin I view as a long-term store of value, right along with things like gold bars. But if you want a form of gold that is highly divisible and suitable for a means of exchange for day-to-day items, the goldbacks really do a good job of breaking gold down into a highly divisible form. Plus, they look really cool.
And we are back. And that was just a short video from our sponsor, Alpine Gold. So definitely make sure you check out the link that I will be leaving in the repost. And that's Alpine Gold. And that long number is the referral number. And again, it will be in the link. And thinking about gold and gold backs, we definitely need to make sure that we have a diversified portfolio. I know a lot of people deal with digital coins, but having gold backs is physical, tangible gold in your hands that you can exchange. And they are all around the country. I know I live here in Georgia, and they have stores in Florida that accept gold backs, and even here in Georgia as well. So Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma, Oregon. So definitely check them out. That's alpinegold.com. And my referral number will be in the repost. And Black and Power says it's likely they did with Snoop Dogg and his grandson at the movies when they introduced a LGBTQ scenario. They came at him because they wanted him to accept it so he can get his grandson to accept it. Exactly. Exactly. And he was not really with it. He was like, what? What is this? Like, what are we doing? And I'm glad that he questioned them because, he has a large platform. He's got a large voice, right? And so, again, to your point, Black and Power, it's like we just want to draw you in. We just got to get you to slowly go, well, I guess that's okay. And the minute you do that and you give it a foothold, it takes over because sin metastasizes. It's worse than cancer, in my opinion, because yes, we can be forgiven of sin. But what I say it's worse is because you can agree with it and be a part of it and really not realize it. Right? Until I don't want to say until it's too late, but it's like, whoa, how did we get here? Right? And it's happened. It's in our schools. at a certain point, we just said, we're not going to accept it. And I actually came across somebody talking about how um, the mindset that we have now infiltrated our schools. And so I'm going to do some work on that and collectively put it together. So it's a nice package that I bring to you guys, but that's something that we need to be aware of and really be on top of. And Michonne, I guess she was referring to the commercial. She says, I still like gold bars. Gold bars are great, but they're not exchangeable, right? Unless you have small exchangeable bars, right? That translate to like what the gold backs do. That's why I like the gold backs a little bit better because it exchanges like money. Gold backs do. A bar is very subjective depending on the weight of it and if you can actually exchange it between two people. Look, the lights go off. Okay. Some people might have money that folds. I'm just saying, or we got coins. But if you have gold, if you actually have gold or silver or even copper, that is far more beneficial than even having, right, tangible or bars of gold. So, and she says she's learning. Yeah, we are all learning, and we have to. We have to share this information with one another. Come on now. If I find something out, I'm sharing with all of you. Right? I got to. That's kind of my job. Kind of my job. So I'm going to share this next video, and trigger warning. There are some. There's no blood, but it is pretty violent. You're going to see some things in this video, so I just want to preface the video with that.
President Trump taking action against the radical left-wing group Antifa, designated the anti-fascist movement as a terrorist organization.
Now, Trump posting on Truth Social saying this, quote, I am pleased to inform our many USA patriots that I am designating Antifa, a sick, dangerous, radical left disaster, as a major terrorist organization. I will also be strongly condemning those that fund Antifa by that they be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practice. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Now, Andy Ngo is a senior editor of The Post-Millennial and the author of Unmasked, Inside Antifa's Radical Plan to Destroy Democracy, and he joins us now. Andy, thank you so much for being with us. You've been hospitalized twice now, I understand, by attacks by Antifa several times. Tell us a little bit about that.
In 2019, while I was covering a protest in Portland, Oregon, where I'm originally from, Rose City Antifa and their allies and I would say co-conspirators beat me to prevent me from documenting their riot. They stole my equipment and in the process punched me several times on my face and head and kicked me to the where I fell partially to the ground. And some of them were wearing reinforced gloves that had hardened material on the knuckles so that each punch hit like a brick, literally. So I was taken to the hospital by ambulance, and there was a brain scan. I had a brain bleed. So I nearly died from that, and I spent 6 months with various types of cognitive and physical therapies because of the brain injury. And then in 2021, I returned to Portland to cover some of the one-year anniversary riots related to after George Floyd died, and they suspected it was me, and I tried escaping, but they tackled me to the ground, beat me very severely, ripped a tendon in my knee, and I was hospitalized for that. So
now I want to pause briefly. Okay. All I can say is there are a lot of people that don't look like us in the video. What? So this has been allowed. It's still going on. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the videos. I've played some of them from, what is it, Cash Jordan, where he's been covering like the different riots and different things in Portland, Oregon. They're in front of the ICE facility. Now, I've seen speckles of us in front of that ICE facility, which I'm like, what are you doing? But a lot of this Antifa type activity where, people are all dressed in black and they're very violent. And what is wrong with y'all? And this was accepted. Like, nobody came in and shut this down. No one. Not the Democrats, not the Republicans. What? You just allowed this to happen like, oh, there's nothing we can do. Both parties allowed this. That's what I'm saying. Like, nobody gets to get away with this one. Now, I know this was back in 2019, and I understand that this happened 6 years ago to this young man. But now that Trump is in office, he's saying, okay, now we're going to, designate them a terrorist group, which they should. But why didn't anybody do anything about this? Bipartisan. Bipartisan, this should have been real simple. This group is outside terrorizing, not just terrorizing, but physically beating people. You heard what this young man went through. He had to be hospitalized, took him 6 months to recover, he almost died. And nothing's happening to this group. They're just like this autonomous group, like, oh, we can't do anything about Antifa. Really? Really, Republicans and Democrats? Really? But now that Trump is here, oh, now we can just take care of it now? It's this stuff. Then I'm like, no. Nobody gets to hold the argument, it's the left. It's the left. No, it's both of you. It's the left and the right because you didn't shut this down. Y'all could have both shut this down years ago, and you allowed it. You really want to see the Hunger Games with us. That's just my opinion. But that's where I see this going.
I've had a lot of up-close violence with them in addition to dozens and dozens of death threats over the years, other attempts on my life that have been reported to the Portland police. And I had to leave Portland, Oregon because of the threats of violence and nothing happening.
Yeah, I spoke with you, I think it was 4 years ago, as you recant that story. And when I think of this movement, or these individuals that we're watching now, I think of you because you're known for documenting these attacks. You're known for going to these protests and met with the violence that you see the outcome of it here, of yourself suffering, hospitalized, not once but twice, as you stated on this program. And you've also showcased others that were physically harmed, shouted at, or made to feel to where they needed to leave. And you can't help but notice through your video, your lens, Andy, is that these individuals are always dressed in black. They're masked up. You don't know their identities. And that leads me to the question of seeing President Trump wanting to designate Antifa, this movement, as a terrorist organization domestically. How do you go about doing that with the pushback of many people saying, well, it's not an organized group? What do you say to that?
Well, they are organized networks. You can think of it like that. And there are certain organized groups. Rose City Antifa, for example, in my case, that was the official group in Portland that was involved in violent criminality against me and others. I think people need to also manage certain expectations about the announcement of the designation. So it's mostly, as a statement, is symbolic in the sense in the U.S. legal framework, there's no actual category where a group that's declared a domestic terrorist group can then therefore be banned and membership of it banned. That's not allowed in the U.S. because of the First Amendment. However, I think with the very strong words that were used in the True Social announcement, it signals, in addition to what he said last week to a journalist, that he is directing his Department of Justice to prioritize breaking apart some of these networks. I think that has been a failure at the federal level during the first administration in 2020, for example. The then U.S. Attorney General, as far as I know, really did no effort to pursue any conspiracy charges at the federal level or other charges that could have really broken up some of these networks. And there's lots of tools legally that can be done currently. We don't need new legislation that can be used to tackle some of these diffuse and amorphous, decentralized domestic terrorist individuals and cells and groups.
Right. Yeah. Look, this, this all comes as well, Andy, in the wake of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, I want to talk about a text message as well, that an exchange that shows that the alleged Charlie Kirk assassin admitted to taking a shot at him. Utah County Attorney Jeffrey Gray is accusing Tyler Robinson, the accused assassin of Charlie Kirk, of sending a text message to his roommate saying that he had a chance to take him out, and he did it. Listen to this.
On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it."
Now, the roommate allegedly responded back saying, "What? You're joking, right?" according to the prosecutors. And then Robinson wrote back saying, "I am okay. I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet." Now, what do you make of this exchange between the two individuals here?
Well, further in the communication, you can see that Mr. Robinson allegedly wrote, "Do you remember the engravings that I was doing?" That stood out to me. And the fact that that first line of communication that was released between the two happened on the 10th of September, allegedly immediately after the shooting had happened, or very soon after. And the roommate / trans lover apparently did nothing with that information in terms of contacting law enforcement. And that was made actually pretty clear at a press conference yesterday involving somebody in the sheriff.
Yeah, so let me get to some of these comments that you guys have. And Michelle says, your opinion is correct. Thank you so much for that. And Black Empower says, Antifa isn't a Black organization. If so, it would have been targeted and shut down or co-opted. There are plenty of examples, Black Panthers, BLM, etc. And that guy is gaslighting. Interesting. So you think he's gaslighting? Okay. I'm like, which guy? Like the news commentator is gaslighting, or is Andy No, the person that got attacked, is he gaslighting? So I need you to kind of flesh that out for me. So our government funded trans surgery, trans movement, trans psychology. Yeah. So they've put a lot of this on us, our own government. You have allowed the abuse of the American people, period. The whole the whole LGBTQ movement, it's a religion, y'all. It is. It's a religion. It's a cult. It is what it is. Call it what it is. It's a cult, right? It needs to be disbanded, period. And all of these laws and privileges, it needs to be shut down, reversed, and out of our nomenclature, period. This needs to be the year or the administration that shuts all of that down. If people want to be a part of that, whatever is left over of it, fine. But we're not going to be a part of your cult, and you're not going to force us through legislation to accept this nonsense. The cult. We're not a part of this. Stop making us, the American people, a part of this nonsense. And Antifa falls under another part of it. So Michonne says that pic on our right is Charlie's killer, allegedly. Yeah, he still looks like still doesn't look like he's the guy. To me, I'm just like, I'm still holding out. I think there's another person involved. He just doesn't look like the type of person that could do that. He just doesn't. There, how should I say it? There are people when they find people that are like mass murderers, killers, whatever. You're like, yeah, like Jeffrey Dahmer was weird, but he was eating people too. So yeah, it was weird, but he didn't look like a serial murderer, but he was. And this person, in my opinion, he doesn't look like the shooter, but he could be. I'm just saying, I think there's somebody else involved in it. That's just my opinion. I just think there was more than one operative there. It was too clean because there was only one shot. It wasn't multiple shots. There weren't multiple people getting hit. In situations like that, you usually get like 4 or 5 shots. Right? And there's other random people that were hit or hurt or injured or whatever, the stampeding. Nothing. Have you heard about anybody being stampeded or injured in that way? There were people standing around like from the New York Post going, "Oh yeah, we think it was fireworks or whatever." And you see people running away. You see them grabbing this gentleman and he's got shot, but you're just standing there like, "Oh, no other shots are coming." What did people know and when did they know it? That's my bigger question on that whole situation. It's really, really crazy. But Black and Power, you got to respond to me because I don't sure what you mean. Like, who's the gaslighting person? I want to know. Are you talking about the commentator or the person that got injured? Now, the person that got injured, he's just making a statement, right? If he's gaslighting, what is he gaslighting about? I guess that's my question. If that's who you're referring to.
Office who clarified that it was the family of the suspect who turned him in and actually drove him literally to law enforcement. So in bringing this back to Antifa, it was actually Antifa in some ways that brought Charlie and I together back in 2019 when I first met him, because Charlie and his team reached out after I was very badly beaten and invited me to TPUSA conference where I was too shy to speak, but they nevertheless insisted that I go on stage and they wanted to give me an applause and a thanks. And in the years since, the 6 years, various Charlie Kirk events, TPUSA events at various universities have been attacked by people who associate themselves as Antifa. I was going through my reporting records last night, and I see over and over these threats that were put out with Antifa symbols and logos calling for attacks on this event, on that event, and it would happen. It would happen like at UC Davis. Several times they would come in the mask, in the black uniforms, and smash up the building. And so this attack, this assassination that happened to Mr. Kirk happened in the context of a history of those attacks, and there were Antifa propaganda and slogans written on the cartridges.
Yeah, Andy Ngo bringing his documentation, his experience with that, and then linking, obviously, you attending and meeting Kirk. We do appreciate that, and you sharing those details. Andy Ngo, thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Yeah. So, he experienced attacks, not just that personal attack, but at different TPUSA events. Now, the one that I attended in Georgia, I didn't see any type of counter protest at the particular event that I went to. But then again, I'm in Georgia. And so I know, in certain parts of Georgia, they're just not having it. It's not a thing. They shut some of that stuff down. They don't. You're not doing it here. You don't hear about too many Antifa things happening anywhere in Georgia because they shut that down. But at the same time, I find it very fascinating that he said it's going to be difficult to shut Antifa down because they're not necessarily an organization, right? They may have people that align with it. They align with the ideology, but they're not like the Ku Klux Klan, for example. Like, You know what I'm saying? Like the KKK, they're like, that's who we are. We're, and, to my knowledge, the KKK, they were infiltrated with COINTELPRO, but they were never disbanded. They're still in existence. They're still doing their thing. But to Black and Power's earlier point, um, with the Black Panthers and even BLM and other groups that were Black-led groups, right? Black American-led groups, they're dismantled. Now BLM, I'm kind of okay with BLM being shut down, mainly because they were Marxists. They were not trying to help Black people. Like on the surface, it sounded good, but then you wanted to like promote homosexuality. They were promoting transgenderism. They were putting Black men down. They didn't see anywhere for Black men to even stand up within the organization. Like it was disgusting. It was truly disgusting. So I'm okay with BLM not being a thing. I'm okay with it. But looking at this whole thing with Antifa, I'm like, how do you go after something that says it doesn't exist, but we see it, right? And I think that if you're saying that's the gaslighting part, Black and Power, that makes sense, right? That makes sense to me. That definitely looks like it. And Michelle says, I didn't get along with BLM. A lot of people didn't. Like I said, it sounded good. It sounded like, yeah, Black people, yay. Always something behind it. Always using us to push another agenda because the next thing you know, it was all about LGBTQ and all, what? Stop it. But that's what happened. That's how it went down. It's gross. Okay. So I ask, what do you think will happen to Antifa now that they have been classified as a terrorist organization? And are Democrats concerned? Right? And the reason why I'm saying are Democrats concerned because they never really speak out against Antifa. They don't. Find me where they do. They don't. Republicans do. Democrats really don't say much. They might say, oh, well, I guess they shouldn't have done that. They're not coming after them. Does anybody remember that whole No Kings situation that happened a few months ago? Yeah. Yeah. They were okay. Saying, we're anti-fascist. Because we know who you roll with. We know who the Democratic Party rolls with. I want a whole investigation. And I want to know who said what, when, and who gave directives. And if the Democratic Party is in any way associated with Antifa, and I am saying allegedly, you need to shut that down. Period. So it says, first off, as of September 19th, 2025, Antifa hasn't been officially classified as a terrorist organization. So I guess he's in the process of doing this. He made an announcement. We just need paperwork. In a legally binding way by the U.S. government. What happened is that President Trump announced on September 17th, late Wednesday, his time, while on a state visit to the UK via Truth Social, that he is designating Antifa as a major terrorist organization. He also called for investigations into its funders, tying it to the recent assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk on September 10th. This echoes a similar unfulfilled promise he made in 2020 during the George Floyd protest. Let's see if I got another comment that came in. And Chief says there's another No Kings protest soon. Okay, let us know. Let me know so I can definitely broadcast that. I'll check out their website because they need to stop this. We're already at a fever pitch. I mean, do y'all see it? Let's have a conversation right now. Just conversation with the audience. We're all talking. Do y'all see the play where they keep trying to involve us and get us into a race war? Like, I see it. I see the play every day. I'm like, you are poking the bear. Black people, do not fall for this. This is not our conversation. Something happened. This is white on white crime. It is Caucasian on Caucasian crime. We didn't do any of this. This is not us. This is not our look. Stay out of it. Stay out of it. It's not ours. And you permit, says George Soros family. Oh, you know they funded this stuff under some of their little shield companies. You know, one of the smaller companies, you know, maybe $5 million, $10 million companies. Yeah. But all roads are going to lead back to the Democrats. I'm telling you right now. All roads lead back to the Democrat Party and some Republicans. Yeah, I'm not leaving them out of it either because they didn't stop it. And they had the opportunity. It's like, how are you, as the legislative body, know that all this terrorism is going on outside? You know what's going on. You're not, look, you see it every day. People are being abused by these other individuals, and you're just not going to shut it down. You're not going to shut it down because what they're doing doesn't fall under free speech. It doesn't. We don't cover that under free speech. You going out and physically abusing and attacking people. That's not a thing. And Michonne says, Black American people stand back and stand down. Yeah. It's not this is not us. The only reason I'm talking about some of this stuff is to make us aware of what's going on outside. Look. Because somebody's like, yeah, Black people need to band together and do what? We're going to band together and chill at the house while y'all are outside acting crazy. We're not coming to this. We're not supporting any of this. Figure it out and stop trying to incite violence between these two groups. So legally, this is tricky. So Antifa isn't a centralized group. It's a loose, decentralized ideology and movement of anti-fascist activists without a formal structure, leaders, or membership roles, right? Yeah. So U.S. law allows designating foreign terrorist organizations, FTOs, by the State Department, but there's no equivalent statute for domestic ones. Experts say this could violate the First Amendment by chilling free speech and association. No, it's not. See, okay, so this is where ChatGPT, I love you, or Grok, you're great, but if people are inciting violence, they're no longer covered by the First Amendment. You threw that right away. It's almost like having playing cards, right? It's like, yeah, I've got my cards. But the minute you start being violent, that's no longer covered under free speech. But here's the kicker. And this is why this is important, what we're talking about right now. If you look at the KKK and what they did as an organization, they terrorized Black people in this country. And they didn't go to jail. Their group wasn't disbanded. They weren't deemed a terrorist organization, even though they were terrorizing a specific group of people. Specifically, they hated, people that were Jews and different things like that. But they attacked Black Americans specifically. They didn't do that to Jews out in public. They did not. Find it for me, and I'll take back my words. So I'll say allegedly. They did or didn't. But if you go back to a lot of the footage, it was predominantly KKK members. They weren't put in jail. Show me. Show me. And show me where the government came in and said, we need to shut this down. We need to protect these people who were being attacked by the KKK. It didn't happen. That's why you're having a problem with this now, because you didn't shut it down then. Man, just a mess. And Michelle says a religious war is brewing. Oh yeah, it's not only religious; it's ideological. A lot of this falls under ideology. So U.S. law allows designating. Okay, I read that part. Republican-led House Resolution HR 26 in the 119th Congress pushes to deem Antifa's actions as domestic terrorism, but it's non-binding and symbolic so far. Yeah, because if you do this, then you got to go after the KKK. Am I wrong? Like, just I need somebody in the chat to tell me I'm wrong. Mark from the Soil, thanks for joining us this morning and reposting the stream. And you permit says both Democrats and Republicans are part of the KKK. Yep, still is. Yep. But look, let's just say hypothetically, yeah, we're gonna say that Antifa, as an organization, you're a terroristic organization. What's that going to do with the KKK? Huh? Because that's kind of still part of y'all's get down. Hating other people, being insightful. I mean, we don't see it as much now. You know, they do. I think this place is called Greenwood, Indiana. And even in Kokomo, Indiana, they have a parade. I used to live in Kokomo, Indiana for a brief time. And they have a parade like once a year where they walk around in their white hoods. Still today, they do that. Screaming white power. They can pull it off if you're so proud. What are you doing? It still happens. They're not deemed as a terrorist organization, but if you deem Antifa a terrorist organization, guess what? You have opened it up to a series of lawsuits. Because now people are going to want you to shut it down. Ooh, and you permit says Binghamton, New York? Really? What? They're telling you now. I don't think they're going to do it. It sounds good. It's one of those things. My husband says, it sounds good. It briefs well. But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen. And you permit says, yes, that's crazy. That's insane that they're still doing this. And she says, I heard of the KKK in the backwood towns surrounding my city, but haven't encountered or seen. Yeah, because you know what I'm saying? When they're at work, they don't wear them hoods. When they're in, their official capacity outside, they hide that stuff. But here's my thing. If you're so proud of it, why are you hiding? Huh? Why are you hiding if you're so proud of white power? Because you know how nefarious it is. That's why you're hiding. You're ashamed of it. That's why you're hiding. And you want to call yourself a Christian at the same time. Just saying. You want that title as well. And Michonne says in upstate New York was recruiting in 2019. Yeah. Yeah, like this whole Antifa terrorist thing, I think it's gonna fall flat. I don't think they're gonna go through with it. Like again, it sounds good, it briefs well, but then you're gonna have to go after the KKK. Are you willing to do that? Huh? Are you all y'all ready to implicate yourselves? A lot of you in Congress. What are we doing? It's gonna be interesting. So what might happen to Antifa? Antifa's designation, if it sticks in any form, could lead to a few outcomes based on historical precedents, like the FBI monitoring the eco activists or far-right groups. So increased surveillance and prosecutions. The FBI could prioritize investigating Antifa-like violence using tools like the Patriot Act. We've seen this before. Post 2020, hundreds face charges for protest-related acts, some tied loosely to Antifa tactics. Expect more raids, asset freezes for alleged funders, and RICO-style charges against networks. Chilling effect on activism. Decentralized by design, Antifa might go even more underground, smaller cells, encrypted comms, rebranding as community defense groups. Public protests could shrink to avoid doxing or arrest, but online radicalization might spike. Backlash and escalation. It could martyr Antifa left-wing circles, drawing recruits who see it as facet overreach, or it fragments the movement further as not all adherents endorse violence. Many focus on countering neo-Nazi peacefully. Legal challenges. The ACLU-style lawsuits are inevitable, arguing its viewpoint discrimination. If Trump pushes executive action, it hits courts fast. Remember how his 2020 travel ban got reworked multiple times. Yeah. It's one of the things, yeah. And you permit says, reminder, New York State is Democrat. Yes, it is. And they play both sides all the time. All the time. I mean, it's perpetual. You know. And Michonne says that upstate towns are Republicans. Yeah. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but this is going to be fascinating to really see how this plays out. Just looking at the info because, hey, Elon, this is your baby. It's just your thing. And just looking for answers right now and just seeing what responses it comes up with. Because like I said, if you're going to go after Antifa, are you going to go after skinheads? Huh? Are you going to go after the KKK? Because these people do make threats against other Americans on the soil. Are you going to go after La Raza? Ooh, yeah. Let's get into it, right? Let's really get into it. You saw all those flags waving in Los Angeles, and those burning cars. Who do you think that was? Talking about the race, La Raza. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, they already have a little undercover covert plan of what they're going to do. And it involves hurting people, allegedly. I'll say allegedly. But they're really not planning on, planting trees and flowers. Just saying. Okay. A lot of this, like I said, it sounds really good. But I don't really think the Republicans or the Democrats legislatively, because again, this is going to be on the House and Senate to fix this. They're not going to fix this. A lot of these people are funded by it. There was when I was going over the No Kings protest a couple months ago, there was actually a House member that said, "Yeah, we're against these fascists and no kings." Ma'am, in Congress? Okay, so you side with Antifa. She's anti-fascist. You side with these crazy people. You side with open borders. And you're in Congress. That's what I'm saying. Like, watch these people. Jamie Raskin, he was at one of the events going on that day. Oh yeah. Is he gonna go to prison? I'm just saying. If you find out that he was funded by any of these people, part of these, and to me, when it says left wing circles, I don't buy that for a minute. I think it's both parties, like you permit was saying. Yeah. Again, I find a lot of this fascinating, you guys, but we need to really keep our wits about us. Do not get involved in any of this. Because see, now it is metastasizing. It's cancer. And it's turning into, oh, now we're at black versus white. What? How did we get here? Wait a minute. Hold on. We have a young man. He was passionate about debating. He went around, he did his thing. There are people that like him. There are people that don't like him. Okay. Now, you've got certain people trying to idolize him, in my opinion, make him into an idol. Some people are calling him a martyr. I'm like, hold on. What are we doing here? And everything is just snowballing. I don't want to get caught up in the snowball. And I don't want any of you to get caught up in it either. At the end of the day, they say they have caught the person that did it, and the person that did it is a Caucasian person. This is Caucasian on Caucasian crime. It's nothing to do with us. At the end of the day, figure your stuff out, because you talk about the black community and how there's all this black on black violence. Okay, cool. Now you got your Caucasian on Caucasian violence. Deal with it. And don't bring us into it. Stop messing with the character assassinations. And I mean that. Stop it. Leave it on the floor. This young man did what he did. He said what he said. People liked it. People didn't like it. Leave it alone. Move on. Move on in the right way. Okay? Because if you're really about building up our community, the black community specifically, then do that. Stop wasting your energy on senseless arguments. But now we got to keep our head on a swivel, because they're going after these Antifa people. And some of this mentality, this Antifa mentality, is going to try to draw us in. No. And if we see any people in Congress that look like us, they may not be us, because we've already found out a lot of them are not like us, right? They're not lineage. They're just brown. Talking crazy. We are not going to have anything to do with you. I'm just going to encourage people, shut that down. Walk away. Because they do not have your best interest at heart at all. They are paid opposition. Period. Paid opposition. Somebody is in their pocket pulling the strings. And they don't care about the American people, but they definitely don't care about the black community. So they don't get to come. They're not invited to the barbecue. Period. And we're taking all your black cards as well. You're just not us. So you're going to have to figure out a new home or whatever. Go with the people that you like, that support you. But yeah, we're kicking you out. This is me. Maybe you guys aren't kicking anybody out, but I'm done. Politically. Like, I know who you are. I see you. And I'm going to do everything I can to get candidates to run against you. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure people don't vote for you and they vote for a different candidate that maybe is running for your particular seat. It is time to really flip the tables on these people, because they don't care. They truly, truly do not care what happens to any of us. Because if they did, they would have fixed things by now. But they can't. They can't fix things because they got to run on it. They got to have something to run on, right? The evil people over there, they're horrible. They're evil, but we can fix it. We can do much better. No, you can't. Because if you could, it'd be done already. And it'd be done while you're in office right now. And that's what we need to remember. Legislature, everybody's looking at y'all. House and Senate. And you're not doing your job. So with that, let's take a quick break. And, it is Prayer with Friday. So we're going into our last part of the segment. So we will have our prayer after the break, and we will see you on the other side.
At All Sides, we believe At All Sides, we give bias ratings for hundreds of media outlets. By freeing people from filter bubbles and providing different perspectives, we can all be better equipped to understand the world and each other. So how do we do it? All Sides.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me here on Unfiltered Vision News, bringing you the news unfiltered Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Eastern. My name is Dr. Ashaki Noni Nichols, and I will be your host. So thank you again for joining us here. I'm just making sure I'm getting through all of the comments. And guys, thank you so much for commenting. This is great to have this open dialogue with you here this morning. And just, knowing certain things that are happening in your region, right, outside of mine, and how it is really affecting everybody everywhere. I did want to go over this one article before we get into our prayer time. And this story in particular, I should say this article, it's 11 Democratic officials arrested at ICE protest in New York. What is it about these Democrats, like, we're just gonna show up and this, that, and the I was like, okay, at this point, come on, y'all. We all know, like, everybody knows what you're doing. Even the people that don't keep up with politics know what you're doing. Every state. Okay. At first, it was like, oh my gosh, it was shocking. Now it's just like, y'all are dumb. This is sad. Like, you need to get a new stick. That's all I'm saying. You need to find something else to be like, oh, just that dramatic effect. So 11 Democrat elected officials on Thursday were arrested after attempting to gain entry to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, holding cells located inside a federal building. Okay. Unless they're invited, and they have to make sure they call first so they can get in. They do this as a stunt. I just need everybody to know that they have to do things officially, because guess what? ICE is an entity under the executive administration. So even somebody from Congress, even though they think they've got the sway to get in, they can't, because it's two separate entities we're dealing with. This is why we have three branches of government. It's a branch of government that they cannot breach for a reason. And it's one of those things, if you want entry, call first. Let us know you're coming so we can tell you if you have entry and access or not. That's it. Very simple. Very simple. So for the details, according to AM New York, not rated, federal agents detained the officials after they unfurled a banner and staged a sit-in outside holding cells for undocumented immigrants inside 26 Federal Plaza. What is it about Democrats loving crime? Oh my goodness. Public advocate Wame Williams, who was arrested, says he was participating in a nonviolent civil disobedience to demand oversight of ICE's inhumane detention practices. The New York Times, that leans left, reported that another group of Democratic elected officials were arrested at the same time after joining roughly 40 protesters attempting to block the garage doors outside the building typically used by ICE to carry detained immigrants. I'm glad. Arrest more of these people. You are interfering with federal agents in the process, in course of doing their job. It's called Title 18, Section 111, and it is subject to federal prosecution. These people need to be made an example of. Throw somebody in jail for 5 years, no parole. Like, I'm with it. I'm with it. I am here for it. Stop it. If you want to protest, you better have a protest 2 blocks away and figure it out. But blocking entryways, talking about your being there peaceful, there is nothing peaceful about what these people are doing. It is horrible. And Michelle says most of these politicians are immigrants themselves. Oh, they are. And look, they're trying to protect their own. It's not going to work. Look, it's not going to work. They need to shut it down. So for context, the federal building houses both ICE field office and immigration courtrooms. And is a frequent site of arrest for those who show up during routine appointments. Over the summer, demonstrations outside the building drew hundreds and led to clashes when protesters tried to block government vehicles. ICE also uses 4 short-term holding cells there before transferring detainees to long-term facilities. And I'm glad that they do that because a lot of these people, they go to their court hearings and the judge says, okay, your temporary status is denied. Your parole in the United States is denied. Your green card, whatever, you're denied. You're deported immediately. And they wait for these people to come out. So if you've seen some of these little perp walks in a building in New York, that's what's happening. Because a judge said, you can't stay here. ICE agents are there to make sure they are escorted out. Because guess what doesn't happen when they leave the courtroom? If they're told they need to leave this country, they don't leave. They just stay here. Because who's gonna go after them? Who's gonna make them leave? Bueller? I'll wait. That's the problem. No one's going to enforce it if they have to do it on their own. And that's the issue. This is why we have people here, 10, 20, 30 years with deportation orders, by the way, who've made a whole life under the table or however they've been able to finagle or figure it out. And they're still here and they violated the law. And we're supposed to have compassion if you don't stop and go somewhere. You better find somebody else. No. Okay. So this is how the media covered it. New York Times covered the arrest and the protest over the summer. It also mentioned complaints about the facility's conditions, including migrants being forced to sleep on the concrete floor and having to use toilets with no privacy. Highlighted ICE arresting immigrants to show up for hearings and listed the lawmakers who were arrested for Fox News Right, shared a video of protesters being arrested and led onto buses. You know what? I don't care about somebody sleeping on the concrete floor. I don't care about them having to share facilities. I don't care because they shouldn't be here. Leave. You don't belong here. You violated and you've broken the law and you want us to go along with it. Here again, it's the same situation what I was talking about earlier. We are not going to go along with this evil behavior. It's a pattern. I am not going to be okay with this. Ever. And as people will say, well, you're not being a Christian. You're not being loving. I am being loving. It's called righteous indignation. Okay. And I am loving you by telling you the truth. Stop sinning. Stop lying. Stop breaking the law. Because even within the Bible, it says that we are subject to the law, whether spiritual or governmental, right? You're supposed to live according to the law. That's why we have laws, because people are wild. And they're really starting to bend the law for some. And we've seen it. We've seen the law bent for people. And now we're trying to straighten it out, right? From the bending that it's gone through, but it's still bent. And the only way we get out of that is we start demanding that people follow the law, period. My whole thing is if you don't want to follow the law, that's fine. You can leave. You can leave the country. And Michonne says the government breaks laws. They do. They do all the time. That's what I'm saying. The law's been bent. Still needs to be straightened out. It's not all on one person to straighten it out. It's on all of us to straighten it out. Starting at the local level and going up to the federal level. Right? there's a lot that we can do here in our own community to make sure that the laws are right and straight for our community and our fellow man in our community directly within our path. And that's our charge and our job, period. We have to do it. If you see a crime going down, you need to call the police. You need to have a good relationship with the police department, the sheriff's department. Yeah, that's on us, guys, to have that relationship and to demand from them, you better have a relationship with these young people out here so that they know that there's a better road to take and they don't see it as the us-them mentality. Yeah. I know we have different festivals here where I live in my city, and it's great. You guys have this little booth, but there can be more done on the outreach so that we don't have situations like this going on, because it's really, really crazy. And with that, let's get into our prayer for the weekend. And God, thank you so much for just getting us through this week. From last week, it's been a whirlwind, Father. And I'm truly, truly praying for everybody here that you just cover them, you protect them going into the weekend, God. And we are so grateful for everything that you have done and everything that you are going to do. Help keep us focused on you, your will, and your way, Father. And also help others, God, that say that they love you and say that they follow you, start to actually show that with their lives, God. I love you, and it's in Jesus' name I pray and give thanks. Amen. And with that, guys, I just want to make a little bit of an announcement. I will be off air for about 2 weeks. My husband and I, we're going to be celebrating our 7th wedding anniversary. I'm really excited. And so I'm not going to be on the air. I'm not going to be on social media. I'm just going to be spending time with my husband. Just doing something important, really loving up on him because I appreciate him so much. He's like, you are in there all day. You work so much. I was like, yeah, I do. Because, I want to make sure that I'm contributing in making sure that we have a voice here with Unfiltered Vision News that may be different from what you're always hearing outside. And Michelle says, prayers, and thank you for keeping your sanity. Thank you. You were very welcome. It takes a lot of prayer, trust me. And happy anniversary. Thank you so much for that. Yeah. And I definitely, thank you, Chief. She says, enjoy your time off. Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's one of those things where, I do this because I know we can do better. I have not given up that hope that things can really change, right? Really, really change for the better. Oh, and Michelle says, enjoy. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to get out of here, but you guys have a great time. Just make sure you check out All Sides, right? While I'm technically off air, out of the office, because that's where you can get a lot of the news that will show you, from left, right, and center, how people are really covering the news that we have out there. And so remember, stay well, stay focused, and stay unfiltered. And we'll see you in the next one.